basketball, and they have been a team that I have persevered. And if you've been in faith long enough, it's similar to how the Knicks are. You didn't expect much, but somehow God made a way. And I am just was away in Charlotte with the family watching the NBA Finals, and I was just happy for the Knicks to be there. In all transparency, I didn't have the Knicks winning the finals. I was just happy to be there, happy for us to make it to the finals. And then, you know, many of you saw it. Great things happen when you come together. So here we are as a family, as a team, we're coming together. I was thinking about just showing the hat and taking it off, but you know what? I'm feeling good tonight, so I'm just going to keep it on for y'all so y'all can know who the champ is, okay? The champions. So again, good to see Faith, good to see Didi in the chat, good to see Tiff in the chat, good to see T in the chat. Okay, I got all my faithfuls in, so it's need to hold y'all long. I won't hold you long. I know that the season is over, and most times I'll be trying to scat out here to watch the game, but I will not be doing that tonight. But at the same time, I'm not going to hold you. It's a great day outside, so when I get done with the message, go out there with your family. My boys are already outside and enjoying this good weather. It started off bad throughout the day, but somehow it's cool outside. So go outside before it gets 8:30ish and enjoy some time with your kids. Allow them to play, okay? School is over. So here we are. I want y'all to type in the chat tonight. No one is bigger than the program. This is a thing that I've, you know, kind of like a cliche or a motto that I grew up hearing a lot of OGs, you would say, or men of wisdom say, as I've gotten, was growing, and it's to establish that no matter where we are in life, nobody is bigger than the program. Nobody is bigger than what is going on. Even though many of us are in a different space in life, your children will grow up, and their children bigger, in our own little world sometimes, that we are bigger than the program. We believe that our story is bigger than the next person. We believe our troubles is bigger than the next person. We believe in all these things, but if we really break it down, humble ourselves, your sin is no different than mine. My sin is no different than yours. And we have to recognize that no one is bigger than the program. We are all equal. You know, when I first made my conversion in the faith, August 26, 2009, many of you know that story. I won't go into that. But I remember coming out and being a different person. And when you're young in the faith, you can almost be a hindrance to the faith. Because my zealousness, my eagerness, my hunger for my relationship with God, my change that was big and magnified in my life, I took a position. And that position was everybody had to serve God like I serve God. Everybody had to be nails to the wall, putting in the effort, coming in according to what my eyes thought was Christianity, what my eyes thought was righteousness. And there was a time in my young days that this older man would go back and speak to JR, and it would remind him that many times we are no different than the ones that we're looking left and right to. So even though that my heart is driven to something different, I have to know that somebody else's journey in the faith is totally different than mine. And I remember, man, I won't mention names to those who I was hard on, but I do remember people that are very close to me that I took a position as a young man in faith, and I judged them and moved them and pushed them and continue to act as if I had arrived. And I didn't give the extension of grace and mercy, so to speak, when it comes to what God had to do to get to me. You know, coming into church, you know, many would say they were not born in church, and I can understand that. But I had enough understanding in being raised in the faith that I knew better prior to August 26, 2009. But yet my conversion wasn't until August 26, 2009. So what kind of believer was I to the faith in my lukewarmness before those years? Before that year came, what if somebody took a position with me and pushed me and talked down on me and held me to a standard in a time where I was not serving God? See, we get to a place where we have made full conversions in the faith and we're sold out. But there's many other brothers and sisters who have not reached that place. But somehow in our life, we get to a mindset where we feel we are bigger than the program, and we forget that we are just as equal as those who are still going left and right, who are still coming back and forth, who are still wavering in their faith at times. We are all equal. So a misconception in the faith is believing that with title, positioning, or maybe even longevity, that we are somehow better than the people around us that may be struggling with spiritual youthfulness, immaturity, and not having title. They're titleless. We, as the church, have hurt the church by believing that we are something that we are not. But that is so far from the truth. We are no different than anybody in the faith. I am no different from a person that just gave their life to Christ yesterday, even though I converted my life to Christ in August 26, 2009. But if I am not aware, if I am not humble, if I do not put myself in position to learn at all times, put myself in position of grace and mercy that God has given to me to give to others, I will believe that because I converted in August 26, 2009, and somebody converted yesterday, that we are different. Or maybe somebody is not moving in the righteousness and the holiness that they should be, and because maybe I have got a level of maturity, that we are different. Or maybe because I've accepted call into ministry several years ago, and now in a place of, pastoral care, being an assistant pastor now, that somehow JR is different and I am not. We all have to conduct ourselves as if we just joined the faith yesterday. And many of us can remember when we first joined the faith. We remember the newness to it. We remember the light that was taken off of us, of the weight of life. We remember the joy in our heart that we had, the relief in our bodies that we had, because we knew at that time that we had given ourselves in true transparency to Christ. We had converted our minds and our heart at that very moment. And in that brought a newness to us. Some of us even got lighter when we got to God. You remember when you wasn't with God, how dark and your skin was all messed up and all that good stuff, but now your skin glowing and all that because your mind is at ease and you are living according to what God has you to be. You may not know what to do, but you know what not to do. So here, many of us, if we can just conduct ourselves as if we just joined the faith yesterday, and we do this every day, the walk of faith requires a day-to-day approach. You really can't think about the future when you're in the faith. You can't. You can't think about the future when you are in this faith walk, because future tense doesn't allow you the ability to give your all in the present. If I know that there's future sessions, future ways of getting maybe monetary means, future of maybe building relationship with my wife, future. If I were to treat every day as it was my last, my wife would get way more better JR. But because that I know that I'm going to see her tomorrow, Lord's will, and then the day after that, Lord's will, and the day after that, I can find myself in present and not giving my all. And as believers, that's what we believe. We believe that when it comes to the faith, is that we got this big, long journey with God. And many of us, if we were to live like today was our last in the faith, today was our last day on earth, we would serve God. We would be doing more for God in our very last moments. So our faith walk is a day-to-day approach, because if I treat it day-to-day, I'm going to operate day-to-day. I'm going to think day-to-day. Day-to-day. I'm going to feel day-to-day. Rather than holding on future, and with future relies on procrastination. Future is going to put in place of complacency. Future is going to say, maybe I can do it tomorrow. Future says, but man, I can't do it. I have the inability to do. But when I live day to day in faith, I will operate totally different than I would do in future. So I want y'all to keep that in mind. Future tense doesn't allow you the ability to give your all in the present. Looking forward to the future hinders your effort in the now. So I, as a man of God, I have to look around for the people I see and see what God sees now. Give grace, give mercy, give correction, give chastisement, give love in the now. Don't think about what it is of tomorrow. Don't think about the past that we have done. We live in this very moment, and if we continue that, family, you and I, we can gather strength with each other, because the ultimate goal of the enemy is to like sever us apart from each other. And once he is able to break us apart from each other, then he can do his damage to us individually. If we stay unified, if we stay equal at all times, it's hard for the enemy to come at us, because we are all able to protect each other and cover each other. Many of us need coverage in our vulnerable moments, in our weak moments. And when we are in a moment of weakness and vulnerability, we will find ourselves isolating from the ones who can help us. So the unity in the faith has always been the strength of the believers. It's the unity. It's not the fact that you're able to pray hard or fast hard, even though the Bible declares that we should. It's not the fact that we should be in our word and seek the kingdom of God, even though the word that says that we should. What makes our faith strong, family, is the fact that we are united. And Jesus, he wanted the disciples to be united. Some of his last moments on earth was about preparing the disciples to go out together and to preach the good news about him. He didn't say do it separate. He said do it together. So most times we fall away when we forsake other believers. How many times, many of you, in your moments of falling away, you ran away from believers who can help you? If you've been there, put a 1 in the chat. If you remember the time where it wasn't that there was nobody present. It wasn't that nobody wasn't there to help you. It was the simple fact that when the times of toughness, the times of vulnerability, the times of hurt, we first walked away from those who could have kept us encouraged in the faith. We almost, if we really be honest, we were bothered to be around them. We neglected their phone calls. We neglected their texts. We didn't respond to them. We stopped going to church. We were almost agitated for those we know that could encourage us in the faith. And those are the moments that now that you are who you are, before the tough time hits again, because the Bible speaks about suffering. We all shall be in suffering at some point. Because suffering is just a way of bringing you and I back to humility, reminding us that we are none of us are bigger than the program. So remember that time we forsake other believers. The streets is not where you will draw strength from in your faith. You might draw strength in other areas in the streets, but it will never be in your faith. But that's one of the first place we go. The non-believers that you have built relationship will never help you draw strength in your faith. They can give me life lessons on how to maybe do real estate, on how to maybe maintain and make a little bread, on how to maybe, be an entrepreneur, on how to maybe raise your children in other areas outside of spiritual guidance, maybe helping your kids to get a college degree or college scholarships. The non-believers have their place in the world just like believers do. But they will never help you strengthen yourself in your faith. The world will never see your God like you see your God. So you can't draw strength from the world. You can't draw strength from the non-believer. You can't draw strength from the streets. We draw strength from each other. Outside of God himself, the way me and you be encouraged when we can't encourage ourselves, it's going to be through you and I. It's going to be conversations, maybe inspiration, just seeing each other. I speak about all the time of how when I first came back to Georgia from the military, just from my, active duty time, that the people that I saw when I got into church again was some of the very ones that inspired me because I didn't know that it was possible. I thought playing church as a young man was normal. I thought putting on a show and having a form of godliness was normal. But here I saw young men and young women who were truly converted. And I said, wow, what is that? And it's those moments that driven me or pushed me in where I am now. And I'll tell you, some of those same ones who inspired me, I would say some of them very ones I inspire now. And it's because of the drawness and the unity that we have. It should always be a cycle because where they were, I needed to be. And then now, where I may be placed now, is where they need to be. And then down the line, I might be in a place where I need them to give me the same cycle of love, the same cycle of inspiration. And it's going to be through us together. And we'll never want to inspire people if we think we're bigger than them. If we look down on the people that as if they're something totally different than us, we will never continue that cycle. It's going to be like you look down and like, And we as believers should never look down on brothers and sisters and say, but many of us have. Because maybe their sin was different than ours. Maybe their approach was different than ours. Maybe their stint away from the faith was longer than ours. But it's no different. We are all equal. Put equal in the chat. So why are we all equal in faith? Put equal in the chat. Why are we all equal in faith? Let's go to Leviticus 19. I'll be coming out the NLT version. And I'm going to start with verse 1 through 4. It's good to see you, Miss Johnson. I'm very keyed in seeing you on Wednesdays. And I'm looking forward to one day maybe meeting you because you are very consistent. Good to see you, Miss Johnson. Let's go to Leviticus 19. We're going to start with verse 1 through 4. And then we're going to skip down because I really want to just tap in the area. And we're going to go through 31 through 34. Okay? So here was the Lord talking to Moses. And in verse 1, it reads, the Lord also said to Moses, he gave Moses instructions, giving the following instructions to the entire community of Israel. And I want you and I, in this moment, to consider ourselves no different than the people of Israel. No different. So let's listen. You must be holy because the Lord your God, I am holy. So when people say you're doing too much, I want you to take a position. I am holy because God says this is a requirement. There's no longer a fight. There's no longer a justification that is needed. The only thing you need to know is that God requires you to be holy and set aside and righteous. It's because He is. Each of you must show great respect for your mother and father. That's just good stuff right there. And you must always observe my Sabbath days of rest. Have reverence. I am the Lord your God. And in verse 4 it says, do not put your trust in idols, the things that are not God. Your job, your titles, your children, your finances, your resources, your network. Put your trust not in these things. Or make metal images of gods for yourself. I am your Lord, your God. And then we skip down to 31. Now here in Leviticus 19, it was a lot of instructions that was given to the people of Israel coming out of the bondage that they were in Egypt. God wanted to change their mind. And if you want to change people's mind, you have to give them structure. And many of you, we don't do well in structure. So when there is structure, there will be chaos. What I mean by that is, when you start to put structure on the things, you'll start to see the true colors of people. So do not be afraid when you lay out structure. Structure just allows you to see the chaos. And if you stick long enough to the structure, the chaos will leave. But first, chaos will come when there's structure, because nobody wants to be under structure. So what I'm saying is, most times when you convert your life to God, there's going to be a lot of things that just don't go well. And the meaning of that is because God is going to lay out structure. And the structure is going to bring forth the unrighteousness out of you. The structure is going to bring forth the immaturity in you. And if you stay around long enough, it will strip away the impurities. That's why it speaks about going into the fire. And if you know anything about purification, there's a moment in purification where things come out of purification. Things get to be stripped away from purification. And once the purification has done, then you get the results. So here in this book of the book of Leviticus 19, it was laid out a lot of things. And from there, here comes the chaos. So here, finishing in verse 9, chapter 19, it says, do not defile yourself by turning to mediums. That means people of witchcraft to a degree, or to those who consult the spirits of the dead. I am the Lord your God. Stand up in the presence of your elders and show respect for the age. Here's just great instructions. Fear your God. I am your Lord. And do not take advantage of the foreigners who live among you in your land. I want y'all to key in on verse 33. Do not take advantage of the foreigners who live among you in your land. Do not think that you are bigger than those who are around you. Treat them like native-born Israelites. Treat them like yourself. And live and love them as you love yourself. Remember that you were once foreigners living in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So where do you want to land? Where do I want to land here? My land in this scripture is that equality comes in the fact that when I look at the people around me, I am no longer, I'm no different than them. I'm no different than you and anybody else in this chat. The people I walk among, I'm no different than any of you. Because at one time, I was slave to my sin. Just like the Israelites were slaves in Egypt. So a foreigner comes, they were foreign people in the land. It's a reminder, it's a factor to put us in position to open our minds, to keep us in humility. We were once slaves to sin, just like they were slaves in the land. So when foreigners come, we're not going to act like they're different, because we were once foreigners. Some of us were fornicators. Some of us was deceivers. Some of us was adulterers. Some of us was manipulators. Some of us was leaders with anger, with bad intentions. Some of us was vengeful. Some of us were gossipers. I mean, there's so many other things that we have been, that was not pleasing to God. So how can I take a position now that I feel like I made it? I'm bigger than the program. Well, now I see somebody else who's almost living according to how I was before I converted, and look down on them and say, I don't like that. And for the body of believers, I'm going to say a majority here, that is where we fail. That is where we miss it. Because we begin to sip on the Kool-Aid of self-righteousness, is that as if we're different. And we're not. We're set apart for God's work. And we all had different capacities within the work that I will address tonight. But when it comes to the totality of who we are, when it comes to this flesh and what it is, we are no different than anybody else. So if you believe in this, I want you to put 100 in the chat. I want you to show some love. Because the reason we do this is because we live with a mindset of self-righteousness rather than a mindset of pure holiness. If you go to Ephesians 4, I'm going to start with verse 2 through 7, and then I'm going to skip down from 13 through 16 at the NLT. And it reads in verse 2, always, put always. Always. You know, in marriage or in relationship, when you have a little bump in the road with the person you love, and if you've been in a relationship for 24 hours, you know what I'm talking about here. But we tend to do this thing to kind of like land our point, land our plane. You know, land my plane is my new thing I'm on right now. So when I'm landing my plane with Bonnie, the first thing I'm going to say is always. 2 words, always, and I want somebody who's been in a relationship for 3 days. It's another word. So it's always, and let's see if y'all been in a relationship long enough and y'all say the other one too. But when you say these 2 words, you're trying to land something and you're trying to make a point. And it's really, you're doing too much. So the first one is always. Everybody said always in chat. I love it. But there's another word that we'll say. I want y'all to say that word. Bonnie know this word. Bonnie know this word. Didi, you might know this word. There you go. There you go. And let me see if somebody else mine. Oh yeah, here we go. My people that have been in those relationships, those marriages, always and never. Anytime we're trying to land our plane is you always or you never. And when we say that, we're saying that to really drive a point. We're trying to build up a point. So I see many of you got to cut it out. Cut out the always, cut out the never. Because even though with Bonnie, I 95% of the time, I do it. But she still can't say always because there's a 5% that's not in there. So they're not always. And then the never, vice versa. There's a 5% chance that I won't do it. But the 90% it takes away the never. Do you understand? So here we go with Ephesians 4, 2 through 7. It says always. It says always be humble. I mean, I could almost not finish the scripture and text because we forget many times to always be humble. If I always be humble, I will never get in the place where I am bigger than the program. If I always remain humble, I will always keep myself in position to hearing from God. If I always remain humble, I will stay in the will of God. I will push towards the things of God. I will treat my brothers and my sisters different in the ways of God if I always remain humble. But just that small percentage When we miss it, and we don't do that always, we mess up as believers. So it says here, always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other. Be patient. Many of us have assignments to people. And I'm not asking you to chase your brothers and sisters. But I am asking you to be patient. Yeah, they keep going back and forth. Yeah, they keep doing the same thing over and over and coming back to you. Be patient. Be patient with your brothers and sisters. Like God was patient with you. Like others who encouraged you and got you and inspired you to be where you are today. Be patient. Make allowance for each other's faults because of your love. If there's love in me, I will always make a space to where I give you room for error because I myself have lived in error. Make every effort to keep yourself united in the Spirit. United together. Binding yourselves together with peace. For there is one body and one Spirit, just as you have been called to one glorious hope for the future. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and living through all. However, he has given each one of us a special gift through the generosity of Christ. And skip down to verse 13. We all have a purpose. This will continue until we all come to such a unity in our faith. You know, many things are not thriving in the church world, so to speak. It's because we're not united. We are so divided, and we put on a lot of showmanship to act like we are united, but we're so divided. I mean, we're missing out on a lot. Like, we set up appointments and times to meet and do gatherings with other ministries, other brothers, other sisters, but yet it never happens. But then you got trips with your friends, you got trips with your brothers, you got trips with everybody that's around you, and somehow we make those happen. And some of those very people that you're on trips with, they don't believe in the same God that you believe. They say it, but their fruit, when you see it, it ain't the same. But yet we gonna make that happen every time. But time that needs to be invested to brothers and sisters of the faith that you know within their heart that's really there. They just need guidance. They need mentorship. They need grace. They need mercy. They need that time. We just don't make it happen. Yes, I've been one to fail at it. And that's what happens to the church. There's no unity among us. And when there's no unity, there will be division. And when there is division, we will be destroyed. So here, it says in verse 13, this will continue until we all, everybody, this will continue. There will be a lot of things going on. Not a lot of unity. Not a lot of good teachings. Everybody following their own thing until all come to such unity in our faith and knowledge of God's sons that we will be mature in the Lord. Until we all come together and be mature, the church will never be what it needs to be. Measuring up to the full and complete standard of Christ. And in verse 14 it says, then we will no longer be immature like children. When we all come together as one in maturity. If two people don't have maturity, then we will fall. And it says we won't be tossed and blown about by every wind of new teaching. If we all come together as one and stop lacking in maturity. We will not be influenced by when people try to trick us with lies so clever that it sounds like the truth. If we all come together in unity in the faith and not lack in maturity. It takes everybody. And in verse 15, and instead we speak this truth in love and growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of the body in the church. He makes the whole body fit together perfectly. You are no better than I, and I'm no better than you. And when we work together, we look good. One thing I love about basketball, and when we talk about the Knicks again, let's just talk about the Knicks a little bit, is, they didn't have a lot of great stars. Jalen Brunson, if you just watched it a little bit, he was doubted a lot. And very so much so he should have been. You're talking about a guy who's very short in stature, wasn't highly recruited out of high school, wasn't too much recruited from necessarily college. Had a great college career, but college ain't always necessarily what you're gonna be in the NBA. Wasn't drafted even first round, was drafted second round. He came to New York in the time where we needed some stars. I'm a New York fan, down and out. So I've been there through all the trashness. And every time I was turning more into a Cowboy fan, so to speak, in my delusion of how one day the Knicks would win something. And they just kept losing and losing. And you know what? Y'all see how I got this new apparel on? I had got rid of all my apparel. I don't know where it went. I think I tried to blame it on age, but for the most part, I just didn't want to rep New York no more. They had let me down so much. It was worse than a relationship. So here we are with Jalen Brunson, who wasn't highly recruited from high school or highly did anything in college to a degree to be well worthy. But what I noticed with the New York Knicks on their run to the finals and being champions is that they played together so well. I mean, it seemed like everybody did their part. And when you do your part, it look good. That's why I love basketball. When I see 5 guys playing together, moving the ball, talking on defense, passing, not being selfish, it just looks so good. And that's how the faith is. When we doing everything like we're supposed to be, we look so good as believers. But when one person not doing their job, and one person is thinking about their self, and one person is all about them, and one person wants the focal point, we lose every time, even if the other people are doing their job. And that's what I love about their run. They'll always be remembered for not having the Steph Currys or the Kevin Durant's or the LeBron James or the Michael Jordans or the Scottie Pippens. They won't be remembered for that. They'll be remembered for winning the chip and doing it as a team, as a collective. So does some of y'all, if y'all was around 2004 and when Detroit Pistons won. They beat the Lakers, and everybody's like, how they beat the Lakers? Because they came together as a team. And me and you, brothers and sisters, we can do so much more in the faith if we all believe that we are all equal and that we need a team to do it. All right, so y'all saw how I worked that in there. Man, shouts out to the Knickerbockers. All right, so here we go. Let's go to Ephesians 3. I'm going to read 6 through 7 out the NLT. And it says here, we're going to be done pretty quick here. And this is God's plan. Both Gentiles and Jews who believe the good news share equally in the riches inherited by God's children. Equally. We are no different than anybody else. Jews and Gentiles, if you're from the hood, not from the hood, suburbs, been in the faith for 20 years, not been in the faith, not too long, it doesn't matter. We all share equally in the riches inherited by God's children. We all share it. So why are we acting as if one of us is going to get more than the other? It's not. It's not. And if you believe that, you're sadly mistaken. To believe that you have this house in heaven that's going to be bigger than everybody else's because you did your thing. It won't be. We all have to keep ourselves on a level playing field. As a trainer and a coach, I always tell guys that I work with, never get too high. Remain humble. Because when you think you nice, there's somebody nicer. But don't get low either. Don't think you're not nice. But don't think you too nice. And it says here, both are parts of the same body, and both enjoy the promises of blessings because they belong to Christ Jesus. Nobody's bigger than the program. All of us who, whether you joined yesterday or whether you joined today in the faith, we all on the same playing field. Whether you didn't watch adult films for 3 years or you stopped yesterday, we all on the same playing field. If you close your legs for 24 hours or the ones that closed their legs for 10 years, we all on the same playing field. We all are. There's nobody different. And we believe because there's a separation on earth here, that there's a separation in the kingdom. And it's not. There's only one. It's us and then there's the Trinity. It's not going to be your high and mighty title positions. You're not going to have floors in heaven. It's going to be us to God. Father, Son, Spirit. It's that simple. So stop believing that you're going to have this duplex in heaven. In verse 7 it says, by God's grace and mighty power, I have been given the privilege of serving him by spreading the good news. Consider it a privilege. Consider it a privilege that you're even in the position to do God's work. Because many of us, we don't even deserve a chance to do it. We spat in God's face over and over with our lifestyles. We spat in God's face with how we conducted ourselves. We threw dirt on the word. And yet, God has turned it back around again and again for you and I to still enter into his kingdom. So consider it a privilege. Don't look down on anybody else because you're doing it right now. You just started. So how do you stick to the program? How do you stick to the program and keep yourself from believing that you're bigger than the program? How do you stick to the program? Number one, keep the main thing the main thing. I'm going to talk in y'all layman terms. I'm talking in JR. I'm talking. Keep the main thing the main thing. Put that in the chat. Keep the main thing the main thing. Your validation comes from the Lord, not man. So if I keep the main thing, which means I'm seeking God's validation rather than man, I won't always find myself being bigger than everybody else because God tells me that I'm no different than anybody else around me. Stay focused on your connection with him. Because in 2 Timothy, you don't have to go to this, I'll read this. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 19 to 26, it says, but God's truth stands firm like foundation stones in this inscription. The Lord knows those who are his, and all who belong to the Lord must turn away from evil. All. In a wealthy home, some utensils are made of gold and silver, and some are made of wood and clay. The expensive utensils are used for special occasions. The cheap ones are for everyday use. For you keep yourself pure, you will be a special utensil for honorable use. Your life will be clean and you will be ready for the master to use you for every good work. Run from anything that stimulates your lustful, youthful lust. Instead, pursue righteous living. Keep the main thing the main thing. Faithfulness, love, and peace. Enjoy the companionship of those who call on the Lord with pure hearts. So we need each other. Again, I say, do not involve or get involved in foolish, arrogant arguments that only starts fights. I was talking to my mother prior to she was going to handle some business. And we always chat. And the older I get, we talk more and more, which I love. I remember a time in my life where I barely called my mama. But now we talk a lot. Most times, we're talking about nothing. But it just gives us space to have time. And I was telling Mom, like, I'm seeing a phase of Christianity where we want to validate to everybody that Jesus is real. I mean, I'm seeing whole podcasts and events and debates that we're sitting down with other people of the faith, and we want to, prove that Jesus Christ is who he is. And scripture tells us that we're wasting our time. I don't know if you're, young. I turned 39 this past birthday, right? June 11th. And I'm 39, close to 40. 40, I always tell y'all, if you hit 40 or near 40, a good life is about 80. So, most of us halfway there to a degree, right? Even 100, you about, 1/4 there, right? So I say that to say we don't have a lot of time. So why are we spending our time trying to convince people in a God that they don't want? And I say that we have to take a different position and work with the ones that believe. And the ones that don't believe, be okay. Walk away. Move on. Carry on. Don't put yourself in a position where you're wasting time. Because when you do that, you look foolish. We should be more worried about, it says here, enjoy the companionship of those who call on the Lord just like you do, with pure hearts. And again, I say, do not get involved in foolish, arrogant arguments that only starts fights. A servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but must be kind to everyone. Not looking to start no beef. Be able to be taught and be patient with difficult people. Many of you have given up on assignments because somebody is being difficult, just like you were. Y'all just done hung them up. Now, like again, I say don't chase them. I don't chase many. I tell people all the time, ministry doesn't stop with you. So what I mean by that is that just as much as I gave to you, I got to give to somebody else, right? So maybe some move. Maybe some are in a different place in life. Maybe some have graduated. Whatever the case may be. What happens with me is I spend a time to show you and give you what you need. And then from there, the relationship goes however it goes. But there's always going to be more people to get into. So if you are bothered by maybe your pastor didn't reach out to you, stop it. There's more people than you. And your pastor's there. He's being patient with you because you're difficult. He's there. He just don't want to talk. He's taking time to deal with other people. Because many of you are difficult. I know it. That's why I am no anxious to get to it. I'm gonna leave that alone. So here we are in verse 21. It says, if you keep yourself pure. No, as a matter of fact, I'm sorry, family. Let's go back down. Let's skip to verse 22. I said, run from anything that stimulates youthful lust. Instead, pursue righteous living, faithfulness, love, and peace, and enjoy the companionship of those who call on the Lord with pure hearts. And again, I say, do not involve with foolish or ignorant arguments that only start fights. A servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but must be kind to everyone. Kind to everyone, even the ones that you don't like. Be able to teach and be patient with the difficult people. Gently instruct those who oppose the truth, and then perhaps God will change those people's hearts. Many people come to the faith for how you conduct yourself, and they will learn the truth. Then they will come to their senses and escape from the devil's trap. Just because you may not see the fruits of it, doesn't mean people are not converted. I remember a guy named, I believe, Stu. I'll never forget Stu. Mr. Stu. He was over Young Life. And if you're familiar with Young Life was a Christian-based organization that dealt with youth. And what they did was they kind of brought in inner city kids to give them a different experience on life. And you would go to these camps, they would take you out to these camps, you would have fun, but most times the gist of Young Life was to bring young people to Christ. And at that time, when I first came into Young Life, my parents had divorced. And me and my sister and my mother, we were not living like I wanted. We were struggling very bad. If it wasn't for the people in the church, I ain't no telling where we would be. It wasn't for people taking time to give us clothes and food, ain't no telling where we would be, right? So long story short is I was very vengeful in my heart towards, necessarily my father, necessarily the situation or circumstance. So here I am, I meet Stu. Stu's a good guy. And he had a family or whatever, but every time I met Stu, he had this joy to him that I just wanted to make it bad for him. That's how you meet people. You meet people on the craziest side of life. So here Stu is. Stu would give, just great leadership, great things. And I'm sitting in the class and I'm just trying to find a way to disrupt everything he's doing because Stu is just being a good person. And I can almost bet if Stu did not have the presence of God on him and the mindset to see past what I was doing, Stu would probably think that boy is far from God. Because during Young Life, I was not thinking about anything when it came to God. I was trying to holler at the girls at Young Life. Hey, let me get your number. Now, granted, Young Life, people from all different cities. So JR, I'm trying to holler at girls from different cities that I will never see again. I will never see again. I know. And then we lying to each other like we going to wait on each other. We know we're not. We're not waiting on each other. I just want to, maybe kiss you a little bit, get your number, tell other fellas that, hey, I had a girl number. But we wasn't trying to see nothing. Long story short is that my mindset then was not geared to the things of God. But yet I had a man who was patient with me. I'm talking about Stu was very patient with me. And he is the guy that comes to mind when I think about where I am now. The fact that he didn't give up on me. He still allowed me to come to Young Life. He didn't let me go too far, but he still allowed me to be myself. And Free will tell you, I'd be up in there making everybody laugh, being the center of attention, doing all JR stuff. But Stu, I'll never forget him. If he ever were to get a hold of this somehow, or somebody will ever find Stu, I don't know his last name, dang. But he was a guy that stuck out the most in my tough time. He dealt with me. He held me with a standard. And he reminded me of who I was and what I was to be. He saw more in me than I even saw in myself at the time. So thank you, Stu. Love you. So here in number 2, I want to end that again. It says, then they will come to their senses. Sometimes people come to their senses, but it's all by how you treat them. Remember that they are equal. And then number 2, it says, remain consistent in busy or troubled times. We are so good in serving God in downtime. That means we ain't got no motion. Or an emergency, like life-threatening, like something on the line. Like if you don't do this, like your bill's off tomorrow. If you don't do this, like you might die in 30 days. We're going to serve God then. When we ain't got no motion, like we maybe lost our job or whatever, we're going to serve God then. I'm talking about busy time and trouble times. Busy time means like you actually working. Like you actually got motion. You got businesses. You doing great things. We not consistent. We not. Whether we on, vacation, whatever, we don't be consistent. And, I slapped myself on the wrist even with my wife. I was talking to her about like, coming from vacation, I really wanted to like zone in and really get back to where I need to be. Because even on moments of fun, we can still find ourselves not being locked in all the time. And what we recognize, and many of you, when you are mature, you'll recognize moments in your walk where, hey, I need to tighten up. And if you can recognize, hey, I need to tighten up, that is where you need to be. Because you won't always be tight. There's not one. See, that's what I said. We're equal. There's not one. Bishop, archbishop, whatever, overseer, there's not one person on this earth that's going to stay locked in 100%. But when you can recognize, hey, I need to tighten up, and then you do that without somebody coming to you, then that's where you recognize your growth. And most times we get inconsistent in busy times or trouble times. Trouble times is like, things just not going your way. So now you're moping. So it's not an emergency time. You're just kind of going through trials at that moment. Maybe a relationship. Maybe You know, your job is not giving you the hours you want. Or maybe your children's cutting up. All these moments, you're just not consistent. And you're going to have more moments of busy and trouble times rather than no motion and emergencies. You're going to have more moments of busy time and trouble times rather than no motion and emergencies. So if you only wait to the no motion and emergencies, you won't be having a lot of time with God. Okay? So we must remain consistent in busy or trouble times. All right? In 1 Samuel, it says in 12 and 24 at the NLT, it says, but be sure to fear the Lord and faithfully serve him. Think of all the wonderful things he has done for you. And then when you do that, that's going to allow you to be consistent. Be sure to fear the Lord and faithfully serve him. And when you do that, think of all the wonderful things he has done for you. And if you keep that in mind, you will always remain consistent. And my last point here, as I close, is stay connected to God, which everybody know that, and to godly people. That's where you miss it. Many of you, just like myself, have found myself leaving and walking away and turning away from godly people. And then, you know, mine has happened to be 4 foot nothing. And I grew up with. But it could be anybody. And if y'all know who that 4 foot nothing is, she's consistent. And in times of my life, I recognize that I distanced myself because I didn't want to receive what I needed. And many of you do it. You distance yourself from me. You distance yourself from Bonnie. You distance yourself from your pastors. You distance yourself from leaders. You distance yourself from your parents. You distance yourself from mentors. All because you know they're going to hold you to the fire. They're going to hold you to the line. They're going to draw you back. And because you're so immature in your flesh, you don't want to be drawn back. You don't want to be leveled back to where you need to be. And you have to. Because none of us will complete this journey by ourselves. You know, Paul talked about in Scripture how much encouraged he was to write letters. He was in prison. To write letters and then to get back letters of how the faith was being moved. And by getting a letter back saying people were actually strengthening in the faith and pushing the gospel still, how he was somewhat in a physical state of being alone, how he was still uplifted. It was because of the people. And in the same way, he was discouraged when he wrote letters and found out that they wasn't upholding the scripture and that they were doing corrupt things in the church. He was disappointed. So we find out most times that we need each other more than we think. And no one is bigger than God, and no one is bigger than the program. So I want to encourage you as I close tonight that where do I lie in this equation? JR, how can I be more effective? Keep yourself humble. Keep yourself in a place where you're always learning. You're always, got the humility on you. It's nothing like seeing a person that, even though they're great and grander in their way, that they still find themselves level. Speaking of Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, he won the MVP and, he did his thing. And, he never had a moment where he was just feeling high and mighty. Everybody trying to make him high and mighty, but I love it. He had an even keel to him. And he pretty much was like, no, I work hard to get here, but, I'm still going to keep myself humble. And it looks good. Even in moments where you could take the light, take the shine or whatever, it looks good. And it encourages other people to be where you are because we're all equal. And that's what I just want to speak to you tonight. I want you to recognize that no one is bigger than the program. and we are all equal. So as I close tonight, I want to end with a prayer. Father, I ask that you allowed your word tonight to be convicting to the flesh, offensive to the flesh, but uplifting to the spirit. Allow your people to continue to seek you for more understanding, but also to open their hearts and minds to receive from those who have understanding. Continue to push your people each and every day like it's their last to serve you. In Jesus' name, amen. Family, it's good to be back in town again. It's good to be back, just back in the city. As much as I enjoy Charlotte, and I enjoy a lot of cities that we go to. There's nothing like Columbus, GA. I don't know why, but there's just something about this city that won't let me go. So it's good to see y'all. I know many of y'all check in on us and make sure we were fine. Yeah, I know because we missed a couple Sundays. We may have to rededicate this Sunday. But we were willing to do it. No, I'm just joking. But it was a great time. And me and Bonnie don't get a lot of time at the space we're in because we're just raising the family. So it's good to be back and definitely rejuvenated. So if you received the words, and I know many of you are jumping in, I saw your post there, Miss Johnson. I'm looking forward to one day seeing you as well. Put receive in the chat that you received it. Again, I have bought a lot of apparel for the Knicks, and rightfully so. It's been 53 years since the Knicks have won a title, and I'm going to enjoy this as much as I can. So when y'all see me in the streets, talk to me nice. And until I see y'all next week, many of you, if you want to join us on Sunday at 1241 Alta Vista Drive, you got the 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Come and be a part of us. I am looking forward to seeing you. But until we meet again, remember this place that we say we love you, and the word is on. Talk to you soon.